This is Sociology In, curated for the International Sociological Association by Vice President Bandana Purkiasta. In this session, we hear Professor Margaret Abraham, former president of ISA, talk about sociology in the US.
For your work as ISA VP National Associations. Let me briefly mention the history of the discipline. Since its earliest history, sociology has responded to a wide range of social and societal challenges. Sociology and sociologists have been interested in the major concerns and conditions of the time. Sociology has also been influenced by some of the reform movements and their roles in bringing about social change. What constitutes sociology in the US? What it can and should be has also been the subject of much discussion and debate since its emergence. That is, situating sociology as a discipline in relation to other disciplines, including in the forms of study and engagement, its relation to broader societal structures, processes, relationships in society. Situating sociology in terms of its focus, its subject matter, and the methods to be utilized. So, seeking and situating sociology as a science, but also the practical importance of sociology for the betterment of society. In particular, after the Civil War, there was much more in the aftermath of the Civil War. The emergence of sociology in the United States, I think, cannot be said in definitive terms, but generally is traced to the 19th century. The Chicago School was established in 1892 and focused on family, urban decay, crime, and was linked to progress reforms connected to Jane Addams' Hull House Project. The Atlanta Sociological Laboratory was founded in 1895-96 at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, where rigorous and important empirical work on Black communities was undertaken under the leadership of Du Bois. On the one hand, American sociology as a discipline was influenced by European sociologists and European thought. On the other hand, sociology developed through the significant contributions of frameworks, methodologies, and data centers. For example, the works of Du Bois and Jane Addams and the women of Hull House. This was in terms of the situation of Black farmers, Black communities and farmers in rural areas, the plight of immigrants, etc. And yet it was not really recognized or credited, this work, until relatively recently, for these centers and scholars for their pivotal contributions, conceptual, theoretical, and methodological contributions to sociology. They've been serious and systematic, serious and systematic attempts to rectify the gaps within the discipline and institutional histories that intentionally or unintentionally excluded or marginalized the contributions of marginalized individuals and groups. And this is not a one-time factor. We see this consistently, right? Both that we have excellent contributions, but we also have challenges in the invisibilization that happens or marginalization. So that's in terms of an overall kind of very quick broad stroke. And there are different phases. I think in the short time we have, there are sites and books about this that talk about the emergence, and obviously they come from diverse perspectives. So this is just to give you a broad kind of brief note. In terms of the emergence of the American Sociological Association and related pertinent associations, I want to say a few words because I think it's important. In 1905, the American Sociological Society was established by a few dozen individuals. It was established in the backdrop of social reform movements. And of course, there's a discussion of who was there and who was not there at the creation establishment. But we do know, as I was reading through, that there was one woman among the, I think, 50 men. And that itself is interesting. The establishment of the society and the need for rigorous, quote unquote, rigorous science for the study of society through discussions on were discussed, as well as discussions on sociology's practical value. And, the ASA site has a resource for more detailed information for anybody who's interested. And I encourage students and the publics to look at this. In 1959, the Society officially changed its name to the American Sociological Association from the American Sociological Society. And this was noting that it was not just a body of scholars, but also an organization for those engaged in applied sociological practice. And so from its start, we see these discussions around theory, research, science, practice, etc. I mentioned this as sociology in the context of the discipline and as well as in the context of the professional associations have at various points discussed, debated, and engaged on its priorities and scope. Also, as such, what pertains in terms to theory and methods, as well as on research, teaching, policies, and practices. There have been tensions and robust discussions on the role of sociology as a discipline, but also the role that associations such as the ASA, the nation's largest professional sociological association, should and can play. There are various sections of the ASA which focus on different areas and topics of study and interest that have come up at different periods of time, including those that had not been previously included, and they've been added over, periods of time. The ASA has also put out, I think it's important to note, important statements and advocate on issues and concerns raised not just by the association because they have a particular structure, but by its membership. And also pass through its governance structures. And there's always tensions at different points around this and debate and discussion. Members have put forth statements, shared research, and advocated on important issues and concerns seen as vital in addressing the various issues, including wars, academic freedom, racial bias, discrimination, genocide, gun control, reproductive rights, labor rights, education, LGBTQ, decline in democracy, labor, immigration bans, and more, just to kind of give you a few examples of the kind of issues raised. And there are a large number of statements that point to that and the kind of letters written under advocacy of the ASA. And it's important to understand that one is the associations and then there are members who may have different ways in which they also write letters and other mediums by which they put forth issues. Besides the American Sociological Association, there are other pertinent sociological associations, and perhaps I'll start off saying the Sociologists for Women in Society, as I do work around gender, but also that, have also arisen at times where there has been a gap in addressing some of the ways in which gender or race or region has not been taken into account within the canon. And on issues of equality. So you have, besides the American Sociological Association, you have the Pacific Sociological Association, the Eastern Sociological Association, the Mid-South Sociological Association. I'm just giving you some. Southern Sociological Society, Society for Applied Sociology, Sociology for Women in Society, SAN, and many more, in local areas too. And these all focus on certain things and discuss their priorities and methods to addressing some of the issues within the US or within the region or locally. Sociology in the US has been shaped at different times by the economic, political, and societal context, be these local, national, regional, and global. And we know ASA and ISA have played an important role in these. It is engaged with the economic, political, and societal issues of the time, albeit to various degrees. And I think that's important to note. With the association, members individually and collectively through their sections, their research, teachings have put forth important contributions on issues such as inequality, poverty, work, family, health, criminalization, democracy, community building, gender equality, reproductive rights, citizenship, migration, and more. We also have discussed issues around race, criminalization, liberalization, privatization of education, reproductive rights, evasion of democracy, human rights, genocide, land grab, transgender rights, healthcare, aging, and climate change. And I'm sorry to put it as a long list, but it's just to try and give you a sense of the spectrum or the diversity of the issues being addressed. Social justice concerns, human rights, migration bans, Islamophobia, domestic and gender-based violence, LGBTQ elderly care are some of the research, teaching, policy, and action pieces that sociology in the US, but also in collaboration with other associations and organizations, nonprofit and movements, have engaged in. Many of them have shown that sociology offers a critique, but also the sociological imperative to address local, national, and global concerns and contexts through collaborative research, teaching, action, and diverse forms of sociological activities and engagement. And I, of course, in my own work, call this a contextual global approach, that the nations, but also the context matter. US and the sociologists in the US have been using their sociological lens, engaging in action research, critical sociology, public sociology, in the national and global conversation on inequality. Through our sociological theories, methodologies, our understandings of local manifestations of dominant global processes, differing aspirations and conceptions of whether it's social justice or equality, democracy, and ways to seek effective transformative strategies for social change in varying social contexts. In this way, sociologists in the United States and in other parts of the world have been able to contribute to a deeper understanding of social inequality and how sociology offers important ways to examine, understand, and influence the world we live in. Now, I think it's so important because the United States is also a country where you've had migration and immigration and all that. And it's kind of important this time to see how many sociologists have come from other parts of the world and brought key vital sociology that has actually enhanced what is called American sociology. And that is a key critical approach to understanding sociology in the United States instead of being slotted or siloed. And your work does that, and my work, and many, that just to say that because we've collaborated, but also there's a plethora of everyday sociologists who have been engaged in this, who don't often come to the top of that knowledge hierarchy. Well, in contributions to society, we see, like in many other parts of the world, feminist sociologists, critical race theorists, gender and intersectional sociology, violence, sociologists have addressed issues of race and colonialism and decolonialism, housing, demography, and technology and the media have also played a crucial role. For me, I will say, and perhaps this is my bias, but I think it's important to note, is that sociologists in the United States and other parts of the world have also shown the importance of gender-based intersectional violence and been important in that ongoing dialogue and debate about progress, equality, and justice. So that's one of, I think, a major achievement. And it has also, at the same time, both racial sociologists on race and in criminology have showed the challenges of criminalizations and the limits of the industrial complex. So sociology in the United States cannot be seen as homogeneous. It comes from different strands, sometimes pulling together, sometimes unknotting itself. And that's how we have to see American sociology. If we have to, I don't think it's American sociology is in the United States. And I think that's really important to talk about a vibrant sociology that comes that way, both in conceptualizing and doing sociology. Now, this role of sociology in the country and some of the focus areas and current challenges, the importance of situating sociology within academia and its pertinence to institutions, policies, and practices have also varied at different historical moments. And this is critical. Sociology in the US has focused on growing economic inequalities and deepening divides within the United States, as well as globally, stemming from the expansion of corporate power, concentration of wealth in the hands of a few, lack of economic opportunities, or no safety nets for many. Families devastated due to foreclosures, unregulated and exploitative lending practices and labor practices, COVID-related crises, etc. I mean, there's so many that's it becomes hard to make an exhaustive list, but you get a sense of it. And it's important because we see increasingly in this climate where there's a turn by the government and other institutions to anti-immigrant policies and the violation of human rights. And this is not new. It's come at different phases, right? And in different cycles in the United States. But that's why history matters and context matter. And I think that's what immigrants also and sociologists bring to the table, that history when they come from different parts of the world to the United States. Sociology in the United States has been influential both within the US and globally. This sociology has drawn from other parts of the world, but also provided its own distinctive framework on domestic and global concerns based on the context. Sometimes its hegemony has been challenged from within and across disciplinary, political, economic, and geographic borders. In the United States, sociology has had an important but mixed reception over the years. And I use the word mixed reception for want of a better word. Although sociology and sociologists have played an important role within the US and internationally, the issues addressed, frameworks used, and methodological and pedagogical emphasis have varied in salience at different points. One of the challenges is to ensure that sociology in the US does not continue to engage in the hierarchies of knowledge production, but rather collaborate and cooperate and actually learn from other nations and other contexts in addressing the major issues of our time. We see this whether we look at South to South sociologies or in various other parts of the world, and those whose, diasporic communities address it. One of the strengths and challenges that sociology encounters is the topics that it addresses. So when you talk about sociology in the United States, in civil society, and the reception such research gets from pertinent institutions that it seeks to examine and address for a broader and deeper comprehension of societies and the well-being of all people. So an area that sociology has had to deal in the US has also been in the area of teaching. And this is, again, not unique to the US, but where as sociologists and educators, we know that one of our main terrains of engagement is the education institutions, where we collaborate with our students in the shared pursuit of learning, understanding, and lending to the betterment of humanity. Neoliberalism, privatization, and now the political backlash and government reaction to sociology have major implications for research, funding, and teaching of sociology. And we've seen this in Florida. One of the challenges that it has recently faced is the political backlash demonstrated through cutbacks in funding flows and elimination as part of the core curriculum in colleges, for example, in Florida by the Education Board. So seeing how this happens, so that's a major challenge that we're dealing with. Another challenge has been that of funding. It's interesting if you look at the history of of sociology in the United States, and especially of associations, that funding has come from foundations and nonprofits and governments. Sociology in the US from its inception has received funding from foundations, federal and state governments. Today, however, we are seeing some of the challenges in the allocation of these funds and severe cutbacks to funding, which with huge ramifications for researchers and teachers and students, and what this means for understanding of the key issues of our time. Another challenge that we're facing in the sociology in the United States is facing is informing and influencing public policy. For example, in the context of violence against women, especially domestic violence, this has shifted, while shifting it from a private problem to a public issue, and especially by in the US by women of color, showing their activism and scholarship that we have to address issues of intersectionality, we have to address issues of difference, we have to look beyond that too, that women or gender is not a monolithic category, but also responding to the kind of backlash that has been experienced. We've also seen the problem of criminalization as societal response to a spectrum of issues. I want to just say a couple of last few lines. And I think because one doesn't want to only problematize, I think sociologists have played a key role in thinking about and looking at ways in which our frameworks and our ways to approach not just the discipline, but also collaborate have to be reimagined and rethought. And that has to be an ongoing process depending on the issues and structures of the time in the political economic landscape. So the importance of our research should be matched by the importance of our teaching. We must ensure that students and the publics see how our discipline, for example, sociology, offers important ways to examine, understand, and influence the world we live in. This entails ensuring that students can engage in critical thinking, even though books are being banned, how they can learn and apply their sound grasp of theories and rigorous methods, for example, on violence or on immigration, on citizenship, and much more. So I want to just kind of conclude that by saying that today, one of the many challenges that sociologists in the US must reflect upon, especially in this time where there is an erosion of democracy and challenges on multiple fronts, right? Domestically and globally, nationally, regionally, and locally, to education, to higher education, but also to a spectrum of other issues and how the United States relates to other parts of the world and what its roles are going to be. So in the United States must reflect upon and address the shifting economic, political, and social landscape within the US, but also in relation to the world. Sociologists will have to highlight the issues we want to raise and frame the context, explaining the causes, contradictions, and offer solutions. And I say this because I think feminists and many scholars in the global South and other parts of the world have also showed you have to have vision, but also pragmatism in how we navigate this. And this can be a kind of research dissemination by challenging myths. And we've had to do this before, it's not new. Challenging myths, providing valuable data, informing on laws, mobilizing for change, showing that our research and our policies and our practices matter, the work that sociologists contribute to with other disciplines in relation to and together with other disciplines and other fields can make a difference. That, in fact, sociology offers ways that it can help alleviate fears, challenge things like deportation of millions, labeling communities as terrorists, and seek ways to enhance the promise and pertinence of sociology in the betterment of humanity. And this sociology in the United States can do well with sociologies across the world, including the International Sociological Association.